Hello, everyone. We are going to have a great discussion tonight. I am so excited about just having real conversations. I think that's important for us to be able to talk, to be able to share, to be able to talk about how I feel about certain topics. And so that's why it's so important. How do I feel about the topic tonight? We're going to talk about Sean Puffy P. Diddy Combs tonight. They even said he goes by Love. So that's what the topic is going to be. And I'm excited because last week we talked about R. Kelly. And so some of you had some really good comments. So I look forward to hearing the comments that you have. And we're going to be very fair. I'm going to talk about the case from a perspective of that he is not proven guilty, right? He has not been charged yet in the court system. So the charges has been brought. So there's been an indictment, but he has not officially been found guilty. So we're going to talk about it from that standpoint. If you are a victim or a survivor of human trafficking, remember that there are times that when we have cases, very large cases that profile human trafficking, that it can be triggering. I always say that triggers are just God's way of reminding you that we still need a little bit of help. There's some things that we still need to work on. So please reach out for any type of services that you may need in your community, or you can also contact Hush No More. And also, if you are one of P. Diddy's victims, I also encourage you to reach out to Homeland Security Investigations. They are still looking for his victims. They are still allowing individuals to press charges against him and be part of the indictment. And we also know that the more people that come forward, the more likely that individuals are held accountable for their actions. And one thing people don't realize is that it takes a lot to prove in a court of law that somebody is actually guilty when it comes to any type of sexual crimes, domestic violence, any type of trauma related crimes. It's hard to get that proven in court. And so the more people come forward, the more likely that individuals are held accountable for their actions. So I encourage you to come forward and get some help, right? I think that's really important. So we're ready to just get in. First, I'm going to talk to y'all from the indictment because I think it's important that we read and look at things for ourselves, not based on the media, because the media doesn't always give accurate information when it comes to cases. So I always go back and I look at the case law because I think that's how we really find out for ourselves what's going on. Okay. So that's what I did. I went and looked at the indictment. I have put the indictment in the chat, and also I'll put it on the screen for you too so that you can look it up. But it's also in the chat. And these are the things that he has been indicted for: sexual abuse of women, including causing them to engage in frequent days-long sexual activity with more male commercial sex workers, some of whom were transported over state lines. These events, which Combs referred to as freak-offs, were elaborate sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, and often electronically recorded. So y'all remember the recording part because I'm going to go back to that. Also, between 2008 and the present, he is indicted for abuse, threatened and coerced women and others, and led a racketeering conspiracy that engaged in sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice, among other crimes. So that is what they are going after him for. Since all of this has came out, even more victims have came forward. So there are 27 victims who have publicly said that they were abused in some type of form, some type of fashion by him, and 9 more have filed anonymous lawsuits. And so we're going to talk about that. So these are the charges that have been brought forward for him, right? And I didn't see anywhere where it's part of his team, but I also say that you don't do all of this alone, right? So I'm looking forward to seeing some of the testimonies and see who they actually subpoena to come forward to corroborate all of these crimes. One thing about a narcissist will record or let other people know in some type of way that they have power and control over their victims. The fact that there is recordings, a lot of people say that he's been set up. I don't know how you could say he's been set up when we got recordings. Okay, so he recorded a lot of the things that he has done. And that part right there blows my mind away. And so I want people to always remember that when they go before the judge, those tapes are admissible. Those are the ones that they found in his home. And so I look forward to seeing what that looks like. And so It's going to be very interesting how that plays out. There are things that I want to bring to your attention before we get into the conversation, and I look forward to hearing anything that you have to say. Please drop it in the comments because I think it's important. I have heard individuals say, "Why are people coming forward now? Why they wait so long?" Right? What people do not understand is that we have new laws. Every day there are laws that are coming forward to protect victims, right? And the state of New York, they are infamous for protecting victims. I will say that New York does a really good job of ensuring that victims are protected. And so there is a law, right, that is only for adult survivors, and they're able to go back 20 years for crimes that were committed against them in a civil fashion. So it's not that they want money that they're necessarily going the civil route. It's because that's the only way. Because in the criminal side, you can't go back more than 5 years, depending on the state. But you can't go back and say this happened to me. And so in the state of New York, you can't. You can go back 20 years. So when Cassie came forward, and a lot of y'all saw the video of Cassie, and we'll talk about that, she was able to use this law to be able to file a civil lawsuit. So it's not just about money and that they want money from individuals. This is the only way that they can do it. This is the only way that they can hold individuals accountable. So it's called the Adult Survivors Act. And I will drop it so that individuals can look that up. But it's for New York. And it's 20 years that they can go back. So remember that. It's not that they're just filing civil lawsuits all the time because of money. And do I think people want money sometimes? Yeah. But when you come forward against somebody that is this famous, this powerful, this influential, then you already know that they're going to be coming for you because victim blaming is a real thing. Like they're blaming the victims. But since Cassie came forward, more people are using that law in the state of New York and they're coming forward too. Why do people delay coming forward? It is many reasons why people delay coming forward. It might be because the embarrassment and shame, right? Sometimes people don't even realize if it really was sexual assault. And how can that happen if it's somebody that they love, you know, and they were dating? Sometimes they don't even realize what the laws are or what's the rules of what really happened to them. So I've seen that. Memory loss, a lot of times survivors can experience memory loss of the actual act, and it takes years for those memories to come back, right? So we have what we call delayed memories. There's all different names for it, but I like delayed memories because I think that's just an easier way to look at it. But same thing happened to me when I was sexually assaulted. It was years before I actually remembered the incident because a lot of times we suppress it, not even want to admit that it happened. Another reason why victims delay coming forward is because our society will tear you up, will tear you to pieces. They will always seem to support the abuser, right? And stand on their side instead of saying, why is this person saying this? Instead of waiting for the investigation to happen. A lot of people didn't believe that Diddy was doing all these things over these years. This ain't nothing new, right? They're finally getting to down to the real meat of what's been going on. This has been happening. If it wasn't for Cassie's video, and her name is actually Cassandra Ventura, if it wasn't for her video, that would have never really gotten to the point that it has, right? And so I want people to think about that if there's no video footage, do people really believe the victim and the things that has happened? And so it's not just women that are coming forward to make a complaint against him and to file charges. It is actually men too, that he has done things to men, abused men, forced them to have sex as well. That the media is not really talking about that, but I think it's important that we do talk about it because trauma happens to men too. And we don't really talk about it. It's not something that we bring forward. And I want men to know that they have a right to come forward and talk about the same things. And so make sure that you're talking to them and saying, and I'm going to put 1in6.org is my favorite male organization. But a lot of times men do not come forward. If it's been men and women victims, men may come forward after the women come forward. And that gives them a little bit more courage. But it is really hard in our society to come forward when the person is so influential, so powerful. And I don't think that people really understand that this is the case. All right. When I looked at, I don't know how you all felt about the Cassie video, but when I looked at it, the first time I saw it, I was just shocked. Like, what? Like, is that really him? And I didn't catch everything the first time because once I couldn't even believe that it was happening. The second time I watched it, I realized like she had her bag. She was running. She didn't even have on shoes. Like she was trying to escape. So this is how I put it together. And y'all can look at it how, you put it together in your mind. He had on the towel. So it's almost like he was in the shower or was in a separate area where he didn't have on any clothes. He didn't even care enough to get his clothes. He was coming to get her. She didn't have any shoes on. That is crazy. Like when you're to the point that you're willing to run and you don't care about your clothes, you just trying to get out of there. That's a big thing. And even after that, 2 days after that, they were also seen in public at an award show. So she still had to stay through all of that. She showed up with a smile. She didn't have any bruises on her. And she did what she had to do to be able to maintain. Some people say she stayed because of the money, and the status. But a lot of that is fear. It is hard to just leave. People be like, well, just leave. She's rich. Y'all could just leave. That's not always the case, right? They can't just always leave. Like, where are you going to go? Can this person find you? Yes, she tried to leave several times, but she had to go back. And she didn't feel like she had any other choice. And that's part of her statement that she gave, is that the reason why she didn't leave is because she was fearful for her life. If she ever left him, what was he going to do? He has the money to hire somebody to kill her. And so that's something to think about. Kim says that's what happened with Diddy. The woman came forward first, then the men. Even with Usher, the guys waited. Yes, yes. It is hard for men to come forward, but it gives them a little bit more courage when women are doing it too. And so I'm really proud of the men that came forward and trying to really get justice for themselves. And hopefully that other men will have the courage to be able to do the same. And you will look at Diddy and think, oh, there's no way that he did this. He could have any man or woman that he wants, right? Because he got money. The crazy thing in narcissist mind and abuser's mind, it's not about the money. It is about power and control. How can they control individuals? How can they get what they want? And they don't want no because they're not used to a no. So could he have had most women and men that he wanted? Yeah, he could have. But is that the easy way? Is that the challenge? You know, sometimes men like a challenge, sometimes women like a challenge, and they can't take no for an answer and they just want to take control. So I understand from a victimology standpoint of why she just couldn't leave. It's not always that easy to leave. Okay. All right. People love saying, why didn't they just leave? It's hard for someone to escape a regular guy. Someone like Diddy or R. Kelly have power, fame, and reach. They do, Kim. Thank you for that. You can't just leave. And people are like, if it was me, what would I do? You can't look at it that way because that person has to make the decision to leave. I meet people all the time that really want to leave, but they don't know how. They don't know the resources. Will their family believe them? Can they go to their family, right? Will their family open doors for them? Are there shelters? A lot of times the shelters are full, right? Or people don't always just want to go to a shelter or they're not accessible. Like I have a client who is disabled and the shelter is not able to take care of her and her children. She can't go there because of her disability. So we're also working on trying to ensure that those facilities are available to those that are disabled. So sometimes there's a lot of challenges that comes into play for someone just to leave. Okay. So that Cassie video, I want y'all to look at it or think about it from the perspective of she was trying. She was trying to leave, but she couldn't. Right. You saw that. Like she literally was running with no shoes on. And I just feel like I know that the mental damage was there also, not just the physical, but I feel like she's reaching a part of her life where she has some freedom, but after they actually go to court, which is going to be very hard for her to do, very hard for her to testify if she's required to testify. But I think after she goes to court, I think it'll give her a little bit of maybe freedom or some type of peace knowing that he's behind bars. But we just never know. We never know what these individuals are going to do after a person goes to jail. I've even had clients that had a whole entire trigger after their abuser was killed or died. It's hard. Like they take years to have to overcome the challenges of that has happened. And so I always believe in praying for survivors because just reporting is the first step. Going to court, right, is the next step. having to deal with our society and how they never believe victims and it's always the abuser that didn't do it. I want y'all to think about that. Okay. I had a great conversation with my son. He said that he didn't really believe everything because the Cassie video came out after she had filed charges, and that he felt like it was a conspiracy or a setup that had happened, right? So I was like, no, I could see how you could feel that way, that the video was leaked after their court case, right? And not after the court case, after she had filed. I could see that. They've been had it. Is it legal to do that? It's not supposed to be legal, right? It's not supposed to be legal. Does it help their case? It does. For me, I didn't have a problem with it being leaked. I was glad that it was leaked, right? And that's just me, right? From a legal standpoint, we do want investigators to always be ethical, right? And to do things that are legal. But I just think that evidence should be admitted and they shouldn't be able to keep it out of the case. I think it should be admitted. But that's a hard one, right? That's a real hard one. Okay. They find something to guilt you with or even threaten you with. I'm reading a book now where this guy had on his good guy mask and his girl was pillow talking with him and was using something her dad did in his past to try to force her to marry him. Thanks, Kim. Oh, I bet that's an interesting book. I really can't read books about abuse. I see enough in my real life. So I don't really watch abuse or trauma type shows. Now I am big on documentaries. Like I love to look at serial killers like Ted Bundy, looking at their cases. So I do that. But stories, that one's real hard for me. But thank you for sharing that. But that is exactly what they do. And it's a form, they're narcissists, like just taking control, taking power, using different things against them, using their life against them. Cassie, she was an amazing artist. But can you imagine the power and control that P. Diddy had over her career? She really wanted to blow up. And she had a top 10, but you never really heard from her again once they were in a relationship. So that's the hard part. The book isn't about abuse, but that was just part of what was going on in this series. I've been trying to get you to read it. Okay, so it's not an abuse book, but that was one of the incidents. Okay. Well, maybe I can try to read it then since it's a series, but I try to stay away because I see it all the time. So that's a hard challenge for me. It's a very hard challenge for me. Okay. One thing I like, BBC. I don't know if y'all look at BBC. I'm not a real big fan of U.S. news media because I know I've seen things that were accurate and that was going on in our military that was not reported correctly by the media, or the media didn't report it at all. And so I'm not really big on the media in the US, but I love BBC. I love Al Jazeera, those type of news medias if I'm going to look at some news. And BBC reported a lot of the information that came from victims. So I'm going to just name off some of the things that some of the victims said, and they were able to use the new laws published by, not published, that was approved by the state of New York. And I wish every state would release laws that allow adult victims to be able to go back in time in over 20 years and be able to report the abuse that had happened to them, because sometimes it's just not the right time. There's a Joy Dickerson Neal who said that P. Diddy drugged her while they were in college and raped her, right? So she has a case that's going against him. Lisa Gardner, she accused him and R&B sensation Aaron Hall, right, of drugging her and forcing her to have sex with him against her will. And she was only 16 years old. So there's a lot of underage, right? Rodney Jones. And when men come forward and women come forward and give their names, this is a big risk, y'all. This is not easy for them to say this happened to me, right? He was a producer and a videographer for Mr. Combs. And he said that he was responsible for getting the drugs, soliciting sex workers, and recording the tapes. So he was one of the ones that actually was recording it, and he came forward because he felt like it was a forced act on his behalf to have to do that and to be able to watch rape. And it was very difficult for him. So that's just one of the charges that he has against them. And so it's not just human trafficking alone. There are all different types of cases. And they were talking about the freak offs as well. And so I don't know if y'all saw where it was about the freak offs where he had amazing parties. Like everybody was at the parties. I think sometimes people don't come forward that are famous. They don't come forward because they know they was there, and so it'll implement them. But I wish people would come forward, the ones that were there and can say, "Look, I didn't have anything to do with this, but I know that it happened, and I support the victims." Amazing parties. When you got baby oil that's laced with drugs, that's a problem. But do you think that people knew that that baby oil was laced with drugs? They found over 1,000 bottles of baby oil in his house. That is crazy. It's like he had it all stored for all of the parties to be able to just navigate that, to be able to just have a little safe space, a sexual space where people came. And did people know that they were going to be raped or put in a predicament when they were going? I tend to think not, even though we heard it. You really don't think that it would happen. And you want to go to the parties. You know, they're going to have good food, they're going to have good music. Everybody's going to be there. It's like the place to be, right? And he was always putting on like the most amazing parties. But those parties were also including individuals that were part of human trafficking. Okay. Um, Kim said Denzel and his wife, they went off on him at one of his parties. Oh, I would have liked to see that. I didn't see that, Kim, that they went off. So I hope so, because you should say something when you see something, right? And you know that it's wrong, so that people know that you're not part of it. And so it's really hard when we don't have the evidence, right? But I probably would have went to a party because you know it's going to be like the party of the century, right? They always had the best parties, and you find yourself in situations. Now, I want to talk about the human trafficking because that is a big one, right? The human trafficking is big. And if you have been a victim of human trafficking, then you know what I'm talking about and you know how horrible it is. People will always say, how do individuals get caught up in human trafficking? Okay. One thing about traffickers, right? They don't always look like they are wearing a mask. Right? It's not always to jump out the white van and to capture the person. Human traffickers look like the people that are in your community. They are teachers, they are principals, they are your friends. Like a lot of kids get into trafficking because they're friends. They're friends brought them to a party or said, let's go hang out. I know this individual, they're cool, and they trusted them. And next thing you know, they're drugged in Atlanta, right? Trafficking doesn't necessarily mean that you're not at home. People are trafficked every day that live at home. They leave, they do what they have to do. They're captured by the mind, right? That mind, that control. And a lot of times they're not always just on the run, not on the run. And so it's important that we talk to our children about human trafficking and what it is, because it doesn't look like it's portrayed on the news. And these girls were part of human trafficking rings that were horrific. And I always say drugs sell, not drug sales, drugs do sales, but sex sales, right? And powerful people, rich people like to have sex and they like to pay for it. So, like, we see a lot of human trafficking rings at the Super Bowl. That's one of the number one places that we see human trafficking. And so sometimes people don't even realize that this person is forced to be there beyond their will, right? That they have to be there. And it's important that we pay attention to those that are acting different, if they're giving you some type of clue that they don't really want to be there, but they're fearing for their life, right? And you would think that when a person turns their back or that they would run it and try to escape, they can't always do that because they have been taught that if they leave, if they run, that they will not receive support. People will not believe them. You know, they're not going to be able to make it because they don't have any money. Where they're going to go? And so we always try to make sure that people that are in certain sex industries know about the different resources that's available for those that are in human trafficking when they're ready. But it's really hard to get them out sometimes because they are scared and they've been there so long. So it's not, oh, they could just leave. It is not that. They have to trust that where they're leaving, um, it's safe to leave, that that person can't get to them, that where they're going is safe, and that they could trust the individuals, because now their trust is just ruined, right? It's ruined. And especially if they were in human trafficking from a very young age, or the person said that they would kill their families, it's hard for them to be able to overcome that. Okay. Paula told him he was very disrespectful because they had a naked woman in the center of the table as if she was the entree. Sounds about right. Sounds about right, Kim. And the parties are supposed to be a fun and exciting experience for these ladies or young men, and they end up being a nightmare. They do. And I don't think that we always believe that this is the case or that it can happen. So be be cautious when you say that a person could just leave when it's human trafficking, or just leave when they're in a domestic violence situation, because they can't always just leave. It is not that simple at all. It is not where you could just say, I'm leaving today and I'm never coming back. Some of these individuals are from other countries. Where they're going to go, right? They don't have citizenship, they don't have any money. So you got to think about that. And that's why we try to raise a lot of awareness and try to provide resources for them and open doors for them and try to show them a lot of love and kindness, because we just never know what they may need, right? And how can they get away? And what do you say? You know, what are the signs that this person is being held beyond their will? We don't always know, right? But I always say intuition. I was on the plane one day and there was this beautiful, beautiful dark skinned girl, very short hair, no makeup, dark skin. Her passport said Ethiopia, but I'm not sure if that's where she really was from or not. Her clothes were too small, right? Her pants were like high water. She didn't have on anything fancy. And so that was something that just alerted me, the way that she looked and the way that she was traveling, and she didn't have any bags. So we literally sat next to each other, right? And so I had wrote on a card and said, you know, are you okay? I'm a victim advocate and I can help you. And she shook her head like, no, right? And she was by herself. And so I handed her the card and she didn't want the card. And now this is a true story, y'all. And so I was like, okay, because I knew if he found the card, right, that it probably would be her life or he probably would beat her. So I didn't force her to get the card. But I left the card there so that she could remember the name of my organization so she could see it, right? I left it so that she could see it. And then I put it up so that she could just visibly kind of remember Hush No More. And I never heard from her, right? And I never saw her with anybody, but I truly believe that he was following her and they just weren't together. And that's what I got from it. And I knew it was human trafficking. I did go and report it to the police at the airport, that I thought that it was human trafficking. Because if you go to the airport now, you see the human trafficking posters. Even at the bus station, you'll see the human trafficking posters. So I just reported it to the police, told them what she had on, what she looked like, and that she was alone. And they said that they would try to investigate it. I didn't take it any further. I just prayed for her, and I felt like I did my due diligence. And I knew that if I tried to give her any information or tried to get her to come with me, that her life would be in danger and maybe even mine. So a lot of times, how do we handle human trafficking? We report it. The first time that you're able to is to be able to report it as soon as you can. Especially if you're in the airport, sometimes it takes a little longer for them to get out of the airport, but to be able to report it, and then maybe they can have some type of video footage of it. But don't ever doubt your intuition, because intuition is real. And a lot of times that's how we can determine human trafficking, because of our intuition, you know, and just looking at an individual and what they have on is something that we can do as well. So please, reach out to organizations to get more information, to do like trainings in your community as it relates to human trafficking, so that you and your community could be able to identify and even to be an ally and to be able to report it, right? Don't ever doubt reporting. I always say report, because we never know. and the investigation can be done. I'd rather you report it and the person is innocent, right? And that's not the case, than you not report it and it was the case. Kim said, it has been reported that after the clock hit midnight, you were locked into a different kind of party. There is no leaving because the doors are locked and the drugs and sex are flowing. Not even just reported, Kim. He actually was on, I want to either say it was Conan O'Brien or Kimmel, one of those late night talk shows. He actually said it during an interview. So not even just reported, he said it out his own mouth that the women are locked up, right? And that they have parties and sex parties and all of this is flowing. So it's not even just reported. He said it. And we should look in the airports, look at airports in different places, right? We want to look everywhere when it relates to human trafficking and seeing if we can help people. Okay. I always say I live in South Carolina. In South Carolina, we have I-26, I-77, I-95, and I-20. All of those interstates run into Columbia, South Carolina, right in Richland County. And we have a very high rate of human trafficking, and they don't really want to talk about it. They, not to the extent that we need to, right? Not to the extent that we need to. So I talk to a lot of parents about human trafficking is real and that they're coming right into the South, right in the South. And they're passing through here, like drug trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking, all of that, right? And to me, it's modern day slavery. That is what it is. It is essentially modern day slavery. And so I want people to really pay attention to that and know that this is a real thing. It is a real thing. They're either forcing people to work, right? Or they're forcing individuals to have sex. And I don't think that is fair in that anybody should have to live like that, right? Nobody should have to live like that. And they shouldn't have to fear their lives from a place of sex. So, for all of those who believe that P. Diddy was set up, I hope he was set up. And I'm going to tell you why. Because he was doing the crime, right? When you're doing the crime and you're very famous, it takes a lot for us to get evidence to put you behind bars and to hold you accountable, right? So we have to get all the information, all the evidence that is possible. So when you say that, oh, they set him up, so I don't care. He's guilty. I have a problem with setups when a person is innocent, right? And they have never sold drugs and they put some drugs in their bag and then say that they're a drug dealer. That's a setup that is wrong. But if you're guilty of your crimes and you've been doing this and they're trying to figure out how they can get you, I'm all right with that. And that's just Vanessa. And some people don't agree with that. But I am okay with doing a sting on somebody that is doing illegal activities. And if it was your daughter, your son, right, your brother, your sister, even your mother, dad, wouldn't you want somebody to really heavily investigate this? And when we're at like Homeland Security, that's next level investigation. So, and they call it HSI. I hope they do a show at HSI, right? But Homeland Security be on them. Once it's going across state lines, right? And it's the crime is so huge that you will see Homeland Security investigations get involved. When you see it on that level, they have a lot of evidence to even go after this person to start surveilling this person. It's not just, oh my gosh, they did something small. That department really goes after high risk, high profile cases. And I applaud them. And I like HSI a lot. So I've been following them and seeing the things that they're saying. Uh, Kim said he was set up by his own self, baby oils and all. As my cousin would say, he did it to himself. He thought he was untouchable. He really did. So you got all the evidence, right? They found the drugs, they found the different sex toys, they found the videos. And so I am glad that they actually decided to move forward with the investigation and to do the indictment. And I'm glad that it was a surprise. He know a lot of people. He has paid off a lot of individuals, paid off police officers, right? They're talking about that. The ones that he was able to control, right? The friends that he has all across the country, and he has money to be able to escape. And what's to me, he knew they already was coming for him. I was surprised that he didn't leave the country. That's when you know you think you untouchable. When you got the money to flee to another country and you don't. So I was surprised about that. That was interesting to me. So from the setup perspective, oh well, I'm okay with that. Because we need to find out if you're really doing this, and so we can investigate it and actually hold you accountable. So as I said, he has not been found guilty in a court of law yet. It is only indictments, and you can continue to follow his case and follow what's going on. Okay. I think it's important that we follow and know what's really happening. So if you want to hear and read more about the cases of individuals who have filed it, bbc.com has the information. I have it on the video and in the link. And also, if you want to look at the indictment for yourself and not just based on the news, justice.gov has the actual indictment posted for you. So you can go and look at the charges and what Homeland Security investigations is saying about P. Diddy for yourself. I always say, go research it for yourself, right? Follow the case for yourself. We often look at individuals like Bill Cosby, and people are like, Bill Cosby is not innocent. Those women are setting him up. Bill Cosby actually testified on a deposition of all the things that he had did to those women, and he paid them off. And they thought that it was going to be sealed, and over the years it was unsealed. But he had admitted to it. So, but people will always say, "Oh, a person didn't do it." Before you say a person didn't do it, go and research it for yourself so that you can see. Because Bill Cosby definitely was guilty. And I hated that, especially for our people. That was a hard one to swallow because we looked up to Bill Cosby. Our children watched Fat Albert. Like we watched the Cosby show. We didn't ever want to believe that. But when you go and you look at the cases, that's a big thing, right? That is a big one to go see for yourself if this person is guilty or not. So that's how I look at it. That is what I think. I am actually happy that Sean Puffy Combs is in jail and that the indictments is there. I'm also happy that the state of New York um, has allowed adult survivors to be able to come forward. If you're an adult survivor and something has happened to you in the last 20 years, you can actually file a civil lawsuit against that individual. You cannot file a criminal lawsuit, a criminal charges, but you can file civil charges. So that's only in the state of New York right now. More states are looking at that to support adult survivors. So it's the Adult Survivors Act. And we need that. We need to be able to hold people accountable because sometimes you're just not ready in that moment to go and say, this person did this to me. You have to think about it. But I will tell you, if anything ever happens to you, and especially if it's sexual, at least consider going to get a sexual assault exam. Sometimes they'll call it a rape kit, so that you can at least have evidence being held for you. Sometimes they might hold the evidence for you 6 months. They might hold it for you to a year, depending on your state and the funding. But you at least want to have some type of exam done as well to protect yourself, even if you're not ready, right? Even if you're not ready to come forward. Okay, Kim, I'm sick of people saying he is innocent because he played a good dad on TV. The man did it, and all of Hollywood knew it. Shoot, Hugh Hefner was his bestie. And the court of public opinion has him guilty, and that is worse than the jury finding him guilty is done. It is. So people always say, oh, you're not guilty, but they are guilty, especially when they admit it, y'all. You got to go look it up for yourself. If I don't teach y'all nothing else, I want to teach you all to go and look it up for yourself. Okay. Hush No More, we support a lot of survivors. We support survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, child sexual abuse, incest, just helping them with resources. We have amazing events in our community that provide resources, raises awareness, and show love and kindness to survivors and their families. We're always trying to give things away. If you would like to donate to Hush No More, that would be absolutely priceless. You can go to our website, hushnomore.org, but you can also put in Hush No More in Venmo and Cash App if you would like to support. And even if you want to support by doing a birthday fundraiser on social media, even if you want to support by just doing a fundraiser at all, or even volunteering, we really need volunteers to help us in this fight to be able to raise awareness. And that's what it's all about. Okay. Would love for you all to support us any way that you can. And that's even sharing a post. A lot of times I just need you to share a post to be able to help out. April 12th, we're having Stomp Out Crime, which is amazing event. It's a day of giving to the community. It's in Columbia, South Carolina at the Columbia Mall. And we will have brand new clothes donated by Versona, It's Fashion, Walmart, Cato's. We'll have shoes and jewelry. Michael's Dry Cleaners is donating dry clean clothes that people never went back to pick up. Did y'all know that was a thing? I always went back and got my clothes. But be free food, amazing resources. And so I think that'd be a great day for y'all to come out and to meet us and to just get your families together. It'll be just a fun day. It's from 9 to 11. Also, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We are going to have Your Voice Matters, right? And it's going to be a spoken word event at my house, and we're partnering with Hilo Art, and I am excited about that. So I would love for you all to come out to just support or even to bless the mic. So I'll be doing my poetry, and I look forward to your poetry as well. So I'm excited about that. And we're still preparing for our domestic violence walk October 18th. So if you are interested in volunteering, coming, just doing it online, you can go to our website, hushnomore.org, and register. And you can come out and just show some love. We have a great time. This year is going to be DJ Billy. What's Surplus? DJ Surplus. It just lost my mind that quick. But oh, DJ Surplus, please don't hold that against me. My mind went blank, but he is phenomenal. So he'll get the crowd jumping. So I'm excited about that. Man, I did want to say that every week I normally wear some type of t-shirt that says something positive, right? Today I'm rocking equality. I love t-shirts with a positive statement that encourages other people and that represents my values. And so I do believe in treating people fairly. And this t-shirt was given to me by bloom365.org. Donna is their amazing executive director, and they blessed me with this t-shirt. And so I wanted to make sure that I highlight them tonight because they do so much in our community as it relates to teen dating violence and for adults, young adults. Okay, so Bloom 365 is an amazing nonprofit that focuses on our kids. All right. All right. Okay, so Kim from Hearty Hands, she's going to be at Stomp Out Crime. So she says come out and meet her. So thank you, Kim. Tomorrow I will be rocking purple. Tomorrow is World Purple Day. We're going to be a purple warrior, and we're going to support survivors of families and their survivors of epilepsy. So wear purple tomorrow, post it, raise awareness, because it's important that we look at those different diseases that affects our families and things that we need more research from. So heartyhands.org is their website, so you could check them out. And that's all I have tonight, y'all. I am so grateful for everyone that listened, even for those that listen to us on Spotify, that's listening to us in the replay. Just make sure that when you're looking at victims and you want consider what they're going to go through when they come forward, and why did they come forward? Why do they put themselves through this? It is really hard when the entire world is talking about your case and talking about you. Okay. So please consider that, and know that people are struggling in our communities as it relates to sexual abuse, child abuse, human trafficking. Okay. If you are one of P. Diddy's survivors or victims, right, you can contact the Homeland Security Investigations at Sex Trafficking Outreach at hsidhs.gov, or you can call their tip line at 1-877-4-HSITIP. So it's Homeland Security Investigations Tips. So you can contact them. They are still asking for victims to come forward and to be part of the indictment because they really are trying to hold him accountable for all the crimes that he's done. They will investigate every call. So consider calling and getting the help that you need because it's horrific and we shouldn't have to deal with this. And so I'm grateful. Thank you, Erica. Um, we should not have to deal with any of this, right? So I appreciate your comment and for you coming on. So peace and blessings, y'all. If you have any questions, any comments, you can drop it after the show airs live and you could just say what you have to say. If you think that he's innocent, that's your opinion and I respect it, right? And we're allowed to have different opinions. But here on this show, on my show, I'm gonna tell you how I feel. And I am glad that they supposedly set him up. You can't set up nobody that's guilty, right? You can't set up people that's guilty. You just exposing them and bringing them to the court of justice. So, Sean Puffy Combs, I just hope that while you're in jail, you're able to reflect on the things that you have done and the hurt that you have caused individuals, and that it's between you and God at this point what happens. And to all the victims that have struggled dealing with him and dealing with the lash acts and the victim blaming, I pray for you. I hope that you continue to move forward, that you continue to heal, and remember that you got a right to tell it and heal, and that you can get to the next level. Peace and blessings to you all. And I look forward to talking to you all next week. Peace.